Welcome to the background idea, like video of my stories, kind of the in-depth thoughts I was thinking at the time would help create these stories. I am no professional storyteller. I did never went to writing school. Fucking never will. My grammar is shithouse, and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if I'm retarded in a certain way, but probably am. Definitely got ADHD for sure, and I funnel that into this. So I like creating stories for people to watch, for them to be inspired and create their own things, and just it's an art form, I guess, like anything, like a painter, a musician, a storyteller, any sort of thing like that. And with this story, it was I like it's like the rest of them. I have no idea where it's going to go. I mean, I know where it's going to start most of the time. Most of the time, if I don't, it normally starts with an NPC waking up, and that's kind of the hint that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing the next episode. But sometimes I have an idea where I'm meant to be, and this is sort of Ragni's. This is so much progression for so many of the characters for Ragni, and for Cecilia, and for Centaurus and Sigund, and fuck, who else, man? It's all over the goddamn place. There's so much, like, there's like one battle in this, and that's the very end. But again, when I say dramas, I don't mean like it's like a Hollywood drama where I'm having a whinge and a bitch about something. I'm very big on character writing. I mean, essentially, I think I'm a character writer. I don't know if I'm a storyteller, but I'm a character writer, and I love telling character stories. I love expanding the ones that are already there in Skyrim, making them way better, and making the new ones and making them feel like they're part of the actual world, just like everything else. Now, Ragni, the night beforehand of this story, she had basically witnessed Vitalia's reaction to finding out that her daughter had died. And that would be brutal, seeing that shit happen. And it really messed with her. I mean, it really did. And rightfully so. I mean, she's had people die around her all the time, and she's kind of gotten used to it, and she hates the idea that it feels normal to her, that she's starting to see people die. And it's not necessarily something that you really want to deal with, especially if Ragni's a kind, young, compassionate woman that's been forced to save the world. Heavy as the crown. And having to see that is like the realization of all that pent-up normalization of watching people die finally catch up into your face. It was like karma in a way, It's just, you can act like an arsehole for 6 years and no consequence, and one day it just hits you square in the jaw and takes you the fuck clean out. And that's kind of what it was for Ragni. It really messed with her, and she couldn't sleep at all. She just, there's moments you're depressed or you're sad, you stare into the fire, and it feels like a couple of minutes, but it's been years. It's been absolute years. So, we're kind of here with Minerva checking up on Centaurus early in the morning to make sure that he's doing well, but she's noticed that he's slash wound. Now, obviously, dude, I don't know how the fuck I do this. I don't know. It's just pure luck. I ask everything, fuck around and find out. And I've always fucked around and luckily found out nicely. When I created these wounds for him, I got the arrow mark with the arrow hit him from a reachment thing, went through his armor, and the slash. And I had no idea, even until making this episode, of what caused that injury. I had no idea. But the dagger turns up in the episode. And just because I was thinking, I was like, how do I tell the story that he was badly wounded? I mean, the Reachmen are, the Forspawn are a devious bunch when it comes to dark arts and magic like that. And I had no idea until I realised that I found a certain dagger in a certain ruin, and it could very well be in the Briarheart was close to him. They had the weapon on their hand and slashed him. And it's a weird sort of weapon because it's called blood something, I think, but it still souls when you kill people with it. So it could very well do something else, like, sort of poison the blood, turn it black, and it's seriously dark arts. It's like a Daedric weapon, and Minerva's got powerful magic, and so do the healers. But it's just what's happening to him. His blood's turning sour, and it's starting to win, like a virus, pretty much. It's starting to beat the cure, and it's not looking good for him. Now, the whole idea of him becoming a vampire, man, honestly, dude, fuck me dead. I spoil my shit all the time, but the story kind of spoils it in its own right. Honestly, dude, I had no idea that he was going to turn into a vampire. I really didn't. I mean, that battle at Hag's End, I just became the cameraman. I let Centaurus fight his own battle. He went down, I was like, holy fuck, I could actually use that in the story, and it did. You know, where he'd be out of the fight for a couple of weeks, you know, until he was able to get back into it and fight. But then I realised I wanted Tonrak to turn to a vampire, because sleeping with the vampire, he got infected. People will... But then I put the question up on YouTube, and people are like, no, don't do that, leave it alone, because I thought it'd be cool, man. I really did. I thought that shit would be cool, because he was once a werewolf and then becomes a vampire. But then the idea came to my head, Centauros becoming a vampire, because I remember way back, you know, back in the day before I did all this shit, that he was a Dragonborn, and he did the Dawnguard questline. He became a vampire from Serana and all that shit. And I loved the idea of it. And I was like, holy fuck. And honestly, man, it fluked itself. It wrote itself, man. Like, I had no intentions at all, ever, of turning Centauros into a vampire. And here we are. We're going down that path because of just the story writing itself. And I always say this in every single background video that I do. The fucking story it just writes itself all the time. It's out of this world, bro. It really is. I can't describe how sandbox Skyrim is, and that's why it's so successful. Because Bethesda keep trying to take Skyrim's success to every game, and it keeps failing because it was unintentionally successful. You cannot intentionally be successful like Skyrim. It's every single thing about it is so random and successful when it comes to storytelling. Now, Ragni, she's had no sleep. You know, she's just witnessed a mother hear the news of her daughter dying, and it's going to be a lot on Vitalia, because Vitalia, sure, she didn't like the Empire. They sure thought of them as cowards. And they did kill her husband before her baby was born, because of the new laws, and he was an Ord. And she followed because she thought the Empire were cowards, you know, even though she fought for them, even though she was an Imperial, but because her daughter wanted to fight, and so she went to protect her. And the one moment Vitalia was taken out of the picture because of her injuries, her daughter dies. Now, I did not plan that at all, man. I filmed that scene of the Draga fight like 4 times. And then the one time it didn't crash, she was the one that died. I was like, holy fuck. Because I had plans for her to go back to Windhelm to spy on Brianna for Sigurd and that. You know, and the excuse for her mother was to get her out of the dragon fight, because she didn't want a kid being in the middle of the dragon fight. And then I didn't realise that I'd recruited her, you know, sent her on the job with a bunch of other random, you know, characters. And she dies. So the story just keeps writing itself. It's fucking believable. And so witnessing that, you know, she's had not slept, she's very tired, she's very angry, and now she's back in solitude, and she has to deal with the Marulia problem that happened yonks ago, or, you know, in the story, but happened like a week ago or so, right? She has to finally confront Marulia, and she has to go and talk to the general. And again, you know, like Centauros can walk in there with no problem, but anybody that isn't a legionary just can't walk in there. Even the Dragonborn tries, and the soldiers are like, nope. I mean, this is the Dragonborn, dude. The fucking one person that can save all of existence from Elduin, alright? And they refuse her. And that's some, like, you know, General Tullius must, like, really be used to, like, carrying his nuts like a goddamn cave over his shoulder, because he just thinks they're so goddamn big. It's unbelievable. I don't know why I get this blurry on us all the time. It could be shadow play. But, yeah, it's one of those moments. She's pissed off. She's in dragon mode. She's in... I'm not going to go there. People won't like that joke. But, yeah. Now, Minerva tells Ragni what's going on, and, you know, that he could very well have days to live, and Ragni kind of loses her shit. You know, she is very emotional. She is very tired. She's very angry. She's not centered at all. And that's honest, you know, she hasn't slept at all. Ever since seeing Vitalia drop to her knees, she's just had that playing in her head on repeat. Absolutely all night. And she, you know, and staring into the fire would have felt like 15 minutes, but it rocked up being like, you know, goddamn 7 to 8 hours of her just staring into a flame, probably not even blinking. And then she's finally told Minerva that Marulia tried to kill Sigurd. And Minerva's like, that fucking bitch. Don't fuck with one of ours. Even though she's a Stormcloak, and the Stormcloaks generally don't like, you know, the College of Winterhold. It doesn't matter. Sigurd's one of theirs. You know, it's that bond they've got now, which is there, that they're all part of the one group. It doesn't matter who they are, where they came from. They are the companions of the Dragonborn. I don't remember how many I've got, but they are all, you know, in that group. It doesn't matter if she's the Archmage or Sigurd's a goddamn this, or it. You know, you do not fuck with the crew. And, you know, Minerva's like, fucking deal with them, mate. Go in there and split their asshole in two. Show no mercy. And that's kind of great. I like that. Minerva's a very cocky, sort of cocky, but very sympathetic elf, and she's just, I like her sort of misbehaving attitude, where she's very upfront, very honest, a bit like an Australian in a way. She just doesn't give two fucks how you feel about it, and she doesn't act like your typical high elven English Brewster cap. Well, I can't English right now. Doesn't act like an asshole. Doesn't sound like the fucking king's waiting for your service, sir. She's just very bare bones, down to earth. Doesn't give two fucks. Now, this is one of those moments I'm very proud of. Character progression is an important thing in any story. They can't just start off where they can't end where they started. And there's many different ways to do this. I mean, what you just seen last night is the realization of lives lost and those that love them. That it's not just that they die, they roll over, and you bury them. It's not that simple. There's people in this fight that love each other, that are family, that are loved ones, all sorts of different things. And, she's angry. She's not really centered in the right position. But she is, still the Dragonborn. And in this little part of the story, she basically realizes that General Tullius has sent her Imperial commander that she got from Centauros back to do her original job, and has trained the troops and ready them for the next part of the war. Because, I've talked about this before, but Julia was a bit of a pisshead after the war, and she only joined back up to the Legion, got herself in shape to fight the Stormcloaks, to hopefully, die doing it, or just put her back into her natural habitat of killing people without having to think about everything she's done. She survived 5 dragons. She survived that. She didn't die. So, there's a moment where General Tullius will go, she's not fit to lead troops, and Ragni's like, I disagree. She helped me kill 5 dragons, and that was in the space of 3 days. So, the general's being the general, right? He's being typical, because he's the most powerful person in the West when it comes down to it. Even what's her name? Alice of the Fair has to answer to him. And it comes down, especially during the peace treaty, how she riled up and got angry at Ulfric, and Tullius was like, be quiet. It really showed the true purpose of that the Empire was in charge in the West, not Alice. She's just a puppet. The Empire is the true power in the West. It's not her at all. She's got no precedence whatsoever in that fight. And Ulfric is the man of the East, and Tullius is the man of the West. Now, we get into this, and this is one of those moments where I wish I didn't edit it down, but, she walks into this room, and she closes the door behind her. She sits down and has a conversation, and when it all goes to shit, and she walks out, she leaves and just walks down the stairs. She doesn't close the door. It's kind of like that boss moment where she's flopped her nuts on the table, and she's like, you're going to listen to me. I don't give a fuck if you like it or not, but I am the Dragonborn, and this is what I say, and this is what I will do. And this sort of stuff. So General Tullius basically explains in this that, Marilia, I haven't really gotten to this part of the story yet, and the characters will mention it later on, but his first choice to send her to Ragni to get her to join his side in the war, during the Dragonborn chapter, Dovahkiin, was Marilia, but she wasn't yet ready. She was still suffering from her injuries, and it wasn't until, Centauros was back in Solitude where she was actually, at least in uniform, that she was back into the fight. I didn't realise she grew her hair back very long, but whatever. But yeah, she's back and she's ready to go, but she wasn't ready to go then. And so he sent Centauros, his most trusted soldier, that wasn't his niece, to get the Dragonborn to join him. And we all know what happened with Centauros in the last couple episodes. He got badly wounded, and he basically he got knocked out of the fight. So Tullius, being the general, he's the one that issues commands, and he's the one that, that wants the Empire to represent certain things for the Dragonborn. It's not up to Centauros, and it really isn't. He's not the, he's not the general of the 5th Legion. So, Tullius has had a word. He's like, yep, you did a good job, but I'm putting Marilia in charge because she's my niece, and I trust her the most with our sort of allegiance to the Dragonborn. And having no idea, you'd think he'd have some sort of intelligence of Sigurd, but I don't think he gives two shits about the Stormcloaks. He at the end of the day, you're going to want someone there that kind of pushes the Dragonborn away from the Stormcloaks, from Sigurd. Where Centauros hasn't been doing that, and they know that he's been a bit close with her, friendly with her, so he wants someone that he trusts, that can go in there and represent the Empire for the Dragonborn, but also kind of push her away from the Stormcloaks. But he doesn't know what Marilia has done beforehand. the Dragonborn does, and she's here for that. And as soon as she hears him say that she will take Centaurus' spot, the Dragonborn releases the dragon. And I love this, mate. I was clapping, bro. I'm the one that made this. It's just retarded. You know, she's fucking leans down right in front of Tullius and just fucking yells at him, demands at him. You know, she just roars. You know, she roars. She lets the general know exactly, and everyone can hear her yelling. I mean, Imperial Command is listening to this shit. Her just roast the general. Here's some young female Nord in her farming clothing talking down to the general of the 5th Legion of the Empire. I mean, dude, like, that's boss level shit, bro. Comes in wearing farming gear, wearing clothing, and talks over the top of the general and demands shit from him. I mean, that is some boss level fucking shit. I loved how she, like, just grew into, you know, like, just took charge of her station, being the Dragonborn. She even threatens, if Marulia or anyone touches Sigarn, that she will join Ulfric's Stormcloak. You know, and then that obviously doesn't sit well with General Tullius, and he reminds her where she is standing, but then she reminds him who she is. You know, that if I was shouting, if my words are more dangerous than yours, and you can't fucking touch me, because if you do, the dragons win. And if you do, those that are loyal to you will know how much of cowards you are. You've doomed them all, and they will join Ulfric. I love this shot right here, man. It's a fucking boss shot. But, like, I loved the sort of, just the riz of her, man. Like, her nuts just engulfed as she's dragging them down the stairs. It was boss level, you know, and she just looks at Marulia and just threatens to end her fucking life on the spot, right in front of her uncle, right in front of the general, who they're the, you know, last of their line, and she just fucking flops her nuts on the table, drags them off, tucks them over her shoulder, opens the door, walks down the stairs, and gives zero fucks what anyone thinks. She is in angry mode. She is pissed. And all these Imperial soldiers are just like wide-eyed looking at her because they've heard everything. And they're just like, you know, like imagine some young woman just charging down the general. The boss level of it is awesome. Because again, he might be the general of the 5th Legion, but she is the Dragonborn. And, well, you see someone here that, you know, I'm going to let you in a little secret real quick, right? This is her story. And as you can see, I recorded these in 2023. Alright? I don't know what the fucking date that is. It must be, whatever. But this is her story. I mean, I've had these sitting in my computer for ages, and I'll finally be able to use them really soon. I mentioned her a long time ago. Centaurus, I mentioned a Thalmor Inquisitor coming into town because there were Imperial soldiers killing Thalmor patrols on the road, and that was because of Sigarn and her group, you know, especially Vitalia. She's the one that did it. Dressing up as Imperials and slaughtering Dominion, and so she was coming to investigate the Empire and all that sort of stuff, and she's been in the background ever since. But yes, Thalmor character incoming. Now Serana can basically do this on her own. You know, she is the one she's the one that will save Centaurus. So she basically begs Dragon to go to the potion store, get something to drink, and go to sleep because she's fucking exhausted. She's been up for a very long time. And so she, you know, was like, I can do this. I can deal with this. I'll go and talk to Centaurus. This is pretty much my part anyway. And she does. And we get to see, like, Centaurus of Luca, his daughter. They're there at the temple. And we get to see like, a little conversation. I mean, this poor woman has no idea that she's talking to a daughter of Coldheart. I love the whole, she's a priestess of the Nine, and yet she's talking to someone that was a Daedric cult worshipper of Molag Bol, who was turned into a vampire by a Daedric prince himself. I love the sort of, like, she has no idea. But yeah, we get to see some conversations with Centaurus and Luca, and you know, it brings up some dynamics that, you know, like she's like, I thought you were getting better, and he simply goes, I am. So he pretty much lies to her, you know. And at the end of the day, you don't want your kids fearing for your life. You don't want them to think their world's going to end. And he believes in this thing that will help him, but it's obviously going to stop his life with her. You know, it's going to very heavily hinder it. But it gets blurry every time I come out of a scene. But he does lie to her, you know, and it's definitely okay, you know, like he doesn't want her scared because she was an orphan, and he took her off the streets, gave her a home, gave her a name, and, you know, it's now his daughter. And the last thing she's ever going to want is the person that gave her a life to die. At the end of the day, he's set up to stop where basically everything that he has will be hers. But he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to die in a bed to a sickness, to whatever the hell's killing him. He wants to die out in the battlefield. He wants to live. And it's a bit of a greedy thing, but he wants to make sure Ragni's safe. And it's not just Ragni he deeply cares about at all. I mean, there's so many things going through his head right now, the coming close to death. And I want to mention that she talks about Talos, and Centaurus does get quite angry or upset at the notion because she could be taken away by the Thalmor. She needs to stop thinking about Talos and stay with the 8. Even though, he knows that, it's just a matter of protecting her, essentially. But like I said, he wants to become a vampire because he doesn't want to die. I mean, it's a greedy notion, but he wants to protect the Dragonborn. He wants to make sure he can get to that fight to fight Elduin, and he wants to protect someone else. He wants to be there for someone else that he deeply cares about, that he's been with through in this entire journey. So it's not exactly the heroic sort of I want to become a vampire to say, to help. There's a lot more into it, and it's a personal thing, a very human thing. He might be a fictional character that I've created, but at the end of the day, I want these characters to feel human, even if it's the honor and duty, or the self-preservation, or the greed, or the selfishness of it. Every single one of us, regardless of a good or bad or in between, we all have those. We all have them, especially Centaurus does, and especially in his weakest moment where he's slowly decaying due to the wound on his chest, just will not heal and keeps fucking him up. Serana and him get in a conversation about Cecilia's approval, that, she'll be the one to train him. And he's so confused, he's like, why not you? Because Serana, she's no doubt turning people for her father. Or probably not. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's not much into it, but she wasn't exactly a good vampire. The only time she's been good is with Ragni. And even Serana understands Cecilia's true strength, that she has been a vampire for 200 years and has not given in to the lust of blood, the lust of spilling it and domination. There's more than just bloodlust that goes through a vampire's mind. When they start killing people, it's like a shark and blood to water. They just want to rip the target open and spill more of it. Bloodlust, battle lust, whatever you want to call it. It's, and Centaurus talks about understanding it, but he has no fucking idea. And Serana, she's a different kind of vampire than what Cecilia is, but she understands that he'll never truly understand until he's there, that what he's asking for is going to fuck his life completely. He wants to survive by becoming one, but we'll come to realise it's not that easy. I mean, I do definitely need to play more of the vampire characters in the story during the daylight, and that's why I play him with, when I'm playing as a vampire, you see that, it's very bright, because it's their POV. You're looking through their eyes, and it's very bright and very ugly during the day, and that's when the Dragonborn operates. Cecilia, at least, she could stay at the night time for a decade as a vampire before she started training herself how to survive the day. But Centaurus, the poor bastard, when he is eventually turned, he'll have to deal with all of it straight away. He's like a 20-year-old Asian man that's never been taught to swim. He's come to Australia, gone into Bondi Beach, and been taken by a goddamn rift out into sea. I mean, it's it's not good, man. He's going to deal with some shit, and I've got to make sure. Hopefully, I can play him organically to make sure that I can really show his struggle and what he will become. So, it's just a matter of, she's there to counsel him. He will have her power, right? He will, but he'll also be a turned vampire. I mean, a cursed one or whatever. So he'll have bloodlust. He'll have all the sort of shit other vampires have. But he'll just have more power, more strength than what Cecilia does. And again, like I said, she's the best person to teach him. She's trained as a reader and she's looked after herself for so long. But we definitely get into more of that a little bit later on Zarita's thoughts in that. Because she made the Dragonborn promise her that if he goes feral, that she can kill him. And the Dragonborn said yes, which made her consider it. And she's still thinking about it. It's not straight away. It's pondering in her head. Cecilia's going through some things. She's starting to really wake up to who she was, and it's been going a little while. But someone that's lived a rough and edgy life for a long fucking time isn't just going to mold over in a couple episodes and become a friendly person. It takes some time, and Cecilia, it's taken her some time this episode. As I said, their POV is bright. Centaurus does figure out that Sigun wasn't told in the council. That's why Minerva really didn't want to tell her. Minerva's kind of in the middle of it. She's like, he'd be a very good combatant, but he could also be very dangerous. So she's kind of she's sitting on the fence. But she finds out that they haven't told Sigurd, and he's scared shitless because she doesn't like vampires. No one likes vampires. And she deeply cares about him. He cares about her. And him turning into a vampire could really make her angry. I mean, she's tried to kill him twice. Once in Whiterun, she's going to follow him out and kill him. And then again when he brought her sister back to her. And then she's got a temper on her, right? Sigurd has got a temper on her. She's very calm and composed compared to her sister. But she is still, that fiery Nord blood in her, that battle cry. When she gets angry, she gets absolutely angry. And Centaurus is right to be scared of it. Absolutely right to be scared of that for sure. Because she might be a bear, but sometimes she'll turn into a goddamn dragon. Now, we just kind of start off up with Sigurd watching over Vitalia. She's kind of on the edge of a cliff where it looks like she could kill herself. But she's just been sitting there looking into the horizon, blank face, like a dead body, just staring off into the distance. And you can understand that. I mean, man, if I lost my child, I'd get up. I don't even have a child, first of all, but I've seen people that have lost kids, and they're never ever the same. And if I lost someone that something that I created, man, I would fucking jump off that too. Now she has to go and do her own thing. She's gotten something from the Dragonborn, so she has to go check it out. And it's the sort of the robes that Ragni talked about. She wanted to go there when she got back, but she couldn't because Vitalia, wasn't in the right. And man, that scene was hard to make, dude. That brought me some tears. That was brutal. As I remember going to a kid's funeral once of my boss at the time. She was a disability support worker, and a kid had, I think it was leukemia, and he passed away one night. Because she asked me to go into work one day, and I was like, yeah, easy enough, because she's like, my kid passed out. I was like, yep, I'll take it, dude, easy enough. I went in there thinking because he was a little fighter, man. He's a little fucking warrior. And he went in and went to the hospital, and I went to work thinking that he'd just pull through, just another struggle. But I woke up the next morning from the night shift, and I got a text message saying that he had died. And I only knew him a few times, man, but he was a little warrior. He was like fucking 4 years old. He was going to like prep, preschool pretty much, the following year. And he died, and man, fuck, I went to his funeral, and I just started bawling my eyes out, dude, watching him run around. And so I can kind of understand the loss of a parent. I can't never really understand. I'm not a parent myself, but just watching that shit was painful. Now we get to this letter that Ragni has been given by the Dragonborn. And, well, it's not the Dragonborn exactly. It's someone else on her behalf. And she reads this letter, and at the bottom of it, she's like, the Hound. Like, who the fuck's the Hound? And then it clicks in her head that she called Serana the Hound, the guard dog, the death hound of the Dragonborn, when Sigurd was quite mad at Ragni for not being by Centaurus' side when he went down. And so, again, she's kind of like, oh shit, she's the one who's going to make sure I get to Solitude safely. And so she can't really see her, because she can't really be seen around the Dragonborn's companions, even though she walks out in the fort in the middle of the afternoon. But she grabs a weapon to make sure she's safe, and this weapon is a certain something that could be related to a certain something that is found at the certain place. A certain someone went down, and a certain wound on their chest. Yeah, my brain works sometimes, and it's unintentional, like Skyrim itself. I was always wondering how he got sick, how he's dying. And then I realised that knife you find at Hag's End, and I was like, oh my god. Abso-fucking-lutely. So, Skyrim in its unintentional nature of being successful actually was successful in the storytelling, as it always is. I don't know how Skyrim does it, man. It fucking weirds me out. Skyrim is such an unintentionally successful game. They didn't plan on it being this big. And anywhere you go, when it comes to mods, anything, it just fucking works. Like, I don't want to use that joke again, but it just somehow works. Like, it could have been any other ruin, and I would have had no idea. I just would have used some sort of unknown Forsworn magic thing to it. But no, there it is. And somehow, even before I, had him sick, I put that wound on his chest to show off that he was hit pretty bad. And somehow it just works out, that wound and that knife. Like, shit, like the stars align, like they always do with my storytelling. Now, before I get into this, I want to say the music for this. I've got an Elder Scrolls Online music. I brought a new track from Steam. And oh my god, dude, I love that music, man. I love Elder Scrolls music. I don't give a fuck. I love that shit. And for some reason, it just, a lot of it connected. Even some of the songs, man. Like, their names just worked with the scenes that I was playing. It was unbelievable. I mean, this is probably like, I'm not a big music guy, but music is the language of the soul. And it drives in deeper to what's going on in the main scene. You put sad music on during a sad moment, people, their souls are going to feel that. It's going to emulate. It's going to hum pretty much. It's going to fucking echo what you're feeling. And I think the music on this one turned out really good. When it comes to, normally my music selection is shit. Now we get to Cecilia going to check on the Dragonborn. What the fuck is she doing? You know, for the days, and she finds the Nightingale there in the fireplace. She's like, "What the fuck?" I mean, no one knows that the Nightingale and Ragni talk to each other, right? And she's a bit suspect on why the Nightingale is talking to Ragni. But, at the same time, she has no idea. And Cecilia is going through a certain path where she's realising her wrongs, that she's been a little too much the Dark Knight and not who she was. I mean, all it took was someone that she deeply cares about to kind of show her that she's being a bit of a bitch, and that that she's a good person. She just needs to show people that. I didn't even realise the colour for the mattress is different then. But it's just one of those things that, Cecilia, it took a while for her to find out. Because like I said, she's lived for 200 years. She's seen the absolute worst of it. Over and over and over and over on repeat. It just keeps happening to her. And she's been locked into that sort of state. And the last thing that changed it was Freya, which definitely sort of warmed the ice around her heart a lot. But, it went back to her for another 20 years and kind of fell back into that old feeling. And she realises that, after the time that she's spent with these people, that she's apologetic. She did threaten quite a few times to kill the Nightingale because she was a Daedra worshipper and she was this and she was that. And she's kind of, realising her wrongs. And she has that really Cecilia moment where she kind of finds her human self again. And she sits down and she talks to the Nightingale. It's always blurry after a scene. Interesting. It's a moment where she really tells she's genuine. And someone that's lived a life like Topher has, she can tell when someone is genuine, they're really genuine, when they're not bullshitting. She is a bullshit artist. She's a thief, and she knows when someone's bullshitting her. And when someone's genuinely, especially someone like Cecilia being genuine is very rare. And Topher, man, she trusts a lot of people there, and she's a bit worried about Cecilia, but there is something going on where she wants to, she delivers the olive branch of peace. Topher does, even though she's got no right to when it comes to protecting herself against someone like Cecilia. And she basically puts herself out there, exposes herself to someone that could very well hunt and kill her, giving herself a chance, giving Minerva and herself a chance, and showing who she is. And it blows Cecilia out of the fucking water. That just one act of kindness of apologising for the way she was, she's able to, it gives Topher the strength to go, she feels like she is genuine about this, and I don't want her to kill me, and I don't want to feel there's no trust between us, that, and it really opens up both their eyes. It's a massive moment for both of them. Topher, man, when I first created her, she was just going to be the Dendy of the Nightingale. She only joined up to stop the dragons because they were bad for business. But along the journey, she has learned and become a lot more than the way she started off. And I love this with character progression. All of them, they can never end where they started. There can be hints of them, of course, but even the roughest of them, it will show their vulnerabilities. Even the shyest of them will show their potential. The fiercest of them will show their fear. And it's just all that sort of stuff that I love doing with these characters. It's just naturally progressing them, how it feels organic between them. This might have been rushed, but it's a very big moment for both these characters, especially the first time Cecilia laughs. I'd use AI to laugh again. But they both put themselves out in the line. Cecilia showed a sign of weakness by apologising, and being nice. And Topher showed... you hear people in the background. Topher showed herself giving a massive risk to someone like Cecilia that has tried to kill her in the past and has threatened it over and over and over. And it's a very, very strong moment for both of them, like a massive character boost for both these characters. And I really love doing them. And I have no idea when I walked into that room, with a scene that I was actually going to go this far, but I thought, wouldn't it be a massive sort of character shift for both these characters to, to basically expose themselves and hoping that they could see past their past and move forward. Keep note, dad joke, of this, because it's going to have some things involved. Something that's cooking in my head a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm going to be following up on that, pretty much. Now, we walk past Cecilia when she realizes nothing's happening. She's going on a hunt with her, her protege, Zarita. Does she notice Sigan? Does she? I don't know. I mean, she obviously smells that she's human, but does she notice it's Sigan? I'll let you guys decide, maybe. No, but look how beautiful the night is, man. The Twinkling Stars is actually not a mod. It's actually DOF. It's depth of field from my EMB. And I just put my depth of field to 200. So the sky looks like it's always twinkling, which is pretty beautiful. I will admit, it does look quite nice. Some nights I should probably turned off to where it looks like the stars aren't twinkling. And that's also very gorgeous too. But yeah, it's I do like showing off shots of the night. I've really got to show off shots of the day during as a vampire. Because like I said, it is horrendously ugly. And you kind of see the struggle they're going through with both eyesight and pain and all that sort of shit. But we'll see a bit more of that with Centaurus, of course. Sort of, Sigan here is talking about vampires. Vampires. And she kind of bounces back and forth between the whole concept of are they evil, and then kind of oh, they might not be, because Cecilia's good and Serana's good. She brings love to the Dragonborn, and for a creature of pure evil like a Merlek Ball turned vampire can do that. Are they truly evil? She kind of just bounces the idea between her head, between the right and wrong of it all. I mean, everyone growing up would have known vampires are evil creatures. But, kind of being in the group with many of them, especially one being the Dragonborn's love, and one being a sort of guardian, protector, sort of vigilant. It's very confusing. It's very confusing for her, The idea of vampires are foul blood drinkers, but then she's fucking got that to deal with. The whole idea that not all of them are evil. The whole, it's just concepting in your head, like, what is right, what is wrong. And it's, when you've grown up your entire life, it's like, it's like me fucking with gay people growing up. I hated that shit because my dad taught me to hate it because it was abnormal, but I grew up eventually and I stopped giving a shit because it wasn't my business. But what people wanted to do in their own home and who they wanted to love. I don't want someone to live a life unfulfilled because someone said they can't like the same people. End of the day, no one gives a fuck. Let people live the way they want to live and they'll be happier for it. And they'll spread their happy. So the idea of, that is concepting in her head of right and wrong. And especially with where she's walking into, she has no idea. And this scene, oh my god, guys, fuck me dead. This scene was scary to make because 2 years in the making, probably more, actually, more. I mean, I've been doing these guys since chapter 10, right? Chapter 10, you kind of see them in the same story. They had their first little moment. I remember a comment, someone saying it was like a Romeo and Juliet moment, and I remember that shit, man, all that way back. To do this for 2 years, then you can build something for 2 years and it can go to shit by simply rushing it or fucking it up. And hopefully I made it feel organic. I didn't want it to go for more than 15 minutes. That's very long for a scene, but it went for 15 minutes and 99 seconds. It was like real life pretty much. They had this very deep, meaningful moment where they expose themselves completely and utterly, and they root for 30 seconds. What went into this scene? At least I spent 3 days making this, right? And I had to download a bunch of other mods. Now, I have Lover's Lab. Is that the way it is? Sex Lab, that's the one. Your basic, standard, generic sex mod. You go to that place, it's a foul fucking place. It's everyone's kinks are there. But I actually had to install a new mod called Ostium Standalone because I wanted some sort of romantic interactions instead of just straight up fucking raw doggy. And again, it's a nice mod for interactions of characters and stuff like that. And I really liked it. I mean, there's got some romantic stuff in it. Some sort of... This is the time where they're alone for the first time. Properly alone. No one around or anything like that. They were alone in the tomb where basically Centaurus told her about the Jagged Crown, but they weren't at that stage yet to be like that. They'd only just started being friendly to each other. They were... At that time, on their story, they were understanding of that they no longer need to be enemies. They are comrades. They are in the same fight. It doesn't matter if it's blue or red. They were serving the Dragonborn. They wanted to protect her. So it wasn't romantic at all. It was just people that understood who they truly were. But this time, it was just their true moment after all the shit they had been through. That they were totally alone, and they could just expose everything that they thought about to each other. Centaurus really opens up big time. This entire thing, and so does Sigurd. I mean, they both really... I don't like that dynamic where the man's the big hero and the woman's the damsel in distress. Sigurd is no damsel in distress. She was not born for the hearth. She was born for the blade. And she got the blade later that night. I ruined my moments. But both of them really gave it all. Like, at least in my mind, I think both of them really exposed themselves 100% in this story. There's like one moment where they go through these visions, and thank fuck I took screenshots of this, and where I had to make scenes within the scenes, and it was wild. But going through the screenshots of how they reflect back on their past was wild. I really want, at the end of the day, if someone's new to the story and then they're just talking about what they've done, it doesn't really, it still happened, but you kind of want to see it. You want to see flashbacks of it, and that's kind of how I did that with the old screenshots of the things I'd seen, places they'd been, and stuff like that. But I really, they both gave it all. They gave everything in that conversation. They really exposed themselves, and I really liked it. I mean, I like kind of how he's, Centaurus is shit scared, and he doesn't want to tell her because she doesn't know yet. And he knows she'll get angry if he finds that he becomes a vampire. She deeply cares about him. He deeply cares about her. But becoming a creature of the night, it's a brand new thing, and it's the only way that he survives. But he doesn't know what. He knows it's not going to reflect kindly upon him, especially when she finds out what he wants to become to survive. And like I said, it's not just for Ragni. He doesn't want to die in a bed, but he also doesn't want to leave Ragni behind, and doesn't want to leave Sigurd behind. And she offers him her hand, which is like a massive, beautiful thing. I had to use basic animation for this, but then we see this, and it's like these two are now one, and they are so close to each other that they can just absolutely bleed their souls out. They can give everything to each other in this moment, and they absolutely fucking do. I mean, it took me days to make this, man. And normally when it comes to a scene, it's either like I start at the end of the night before I go to bed, and I'll finish off in the morning or the afternoon, whenever I'm free. But this, man, I had to I had to think about it. I had no idea what I was doing with this, man. I had no idea. I was like, maybe you should stand up and walk over to the the 8 divines and really reflect on things there. And Sigurd will follow him over. Honestly, man, I had no idea how I was going to have the scene, what they were going to do, where they're going to go, how they're going to talk, and I just had to start it very slow and work from there, and just keep it going along so it felt natural, that they felt like they were properly talking to each other. Like these right here, we see moments of their past, where they're talking about just what they've been through. It was, I don't remember how long it is, maybe a couple months in the story, but it's like that couple of months has felt like a lifetime to them. It really has. And like Sigurd can remember the very first moment that Centaurus was friendly towards her, and it was as soon as he found out that Sigurd did not flip out when she found out that her Jarl wanted peace, but she was actually quite supportive of it, and Centaurus was done with the war by then. He was tired of it, and he comes over and has a drink with her and compliments her and apologises for acting like an arsehole, and that means a lot to her. And this is kind of that bridging moment where they realise they're no longer enemies. They become of the one thought, and I love the progression of their relationship, their characters. When they start off, they hate each other. One of the moments that always makes me laugh is when they kill their first dragon, and Sigurd goes over to him and tries to sit down and have a drink with him, and he goes, "Piss off, I don't speak to traitors." And she has a big angry moment about that and goes and talks to the Dragonborn behind his back, and it's just one of those things how I did not want to rush this at all. I really wanted to take my time with it. When it felt right, it felt right. Is it right? First of all, when I always imagine this, I imagine it to be some tomb at night time, and they were stationed at a tomb, for the night after finding a word of power. I always imagined it. Still definitely do that. I did not imagine they'd be rooting in the middle of the Temple of the Divines, in front of the Divines. But what's a better place? You're making love, and in front of the statue or the shrine of Debella and the rest of them. And don't worry, Talos was there. It was around Sigurd's neck. So, it's probably the best place to make love is in front of the gods, in front of all the 9 of them, and having one of them on your neck, and it's Sometimes I think the worst places are sometimes the best places for when characters actually cement their like relationships. Like it reminds me of Arcane, where Vi and Caitlyn did the deed in sort of a prison cell. It wasn't the perfect place for it, but it was a perfect time for it. And when it comes down to it, I think time is the most important thing. It is a special moment in time. It has to be done right. It cannot be rushed. And when it feels right, it feels right. And so hopefully I've done that. And if I haven't, let me know. If you feel like they've rushed or you feel like this and that, 100% fine with that. Because at the end of the day, I'm not only the creator. I see it from a different point of view than people that actually watch this and cannot interact with the characters like I can. When it comes down to it, they're both. I've said this multiple times. They give it all. They discuss why they did what they did and all this sort of shit. When it comes Ragni says, "You can tell me anything. I love you." Like it's straight up out of her voice. It's no hesitation to it because she's not Ragni, Sigurd. She's very blunt. She's a Nord lass. She's not going to sugarcoat it and be scared of saying it. She just comes out straight away and says, "I love you." She just tells him straight up. It's like there's no bullshitting around. There's no hiding around in the bush. It's just straight up, "I love you," and it was very, boom, in your face. And then Centauros, he kind of, he does the whole, he doesn't say it directly straight back. He kind of puts his meaning into it, his feelings into it, where it's like, "You are my one thought at the start of the morning and my one thought at the end of the night. I love you." And that sort of thing. So he really kind of gives his soul into it, where she just bluntly throws it out and he kind of puts some jazz in between it and stuff like that. So there's always a lot of things into these stories that I'm always thinking about when it comes to their characters, their progressions and all that sort of stuff. And I don't write this shit down at all. I've never touched a piece of paper when it comes to this story. It just sits in my brain. I believe it's ADHD, 100%. It just sits there in in a file in my brain, and it opens up and it works sometimes. It's unbelievable. I love the moment how they just they go back and forth to their own memories, and it's stuff like that. And basically, one of the defining moments for Centauros was, when Sigurd came back after she got her sister back. It kind of reminds me of Caitlyn letting Vi go and break her sister out. He basically got her sister out, knowing that it was going to risk his life and risk his reputation towards her after they'd become friends. That, this could really throw him under the bus, and he knew this, but he still did it anyway. Just like Caitlyn in Arcane let Vi break her sister out because it was, I don't know, but it reminds me of that a lot. And the defining moment for Centauros was really, that really changed the page where he started to really care about Sigurd, was the night that she apologised. That she took him into the dark and she said, "I'm sorry for what I did." And she hugged him. She showed compassion. She showed that, she was willing to be close to him and wrap her arms around him. And he felt warmth from that. And I guess you could say it's where his feelings kind of started. And hers would have started before that, realising what he had done for her. That they were good friends. They were working together in this point. They were no longer enemies. And then she goes out and tries to kill him in a fit of anger, what happened to her sister. And, that there's a day or two that she wasn't there, it really put her and everything that she had done into perspective, and just giving him that hug, really. Now, this shot right here, I want to say I took this screenshot before I even put the armor into the story. I thought it was cool because of the shadow of him, over a word of power, that she's actually, her shadow is reflecting the Dragonborn armor. I thought that shit was cool. And thank God that shot just ends up being useful in this story. I love that. But yeah, there's moments where they felt that they were on the right path. They were fighting in this war and they felt this was their war. But by the end of it, before the Dragonborn, they'd really grown tired of all the killing and all the death and all the loss. And this journey of theirs has really brought them on together, and they feel like this was what their calling to life was meant to be. They agreed on opinions, on, Centaurus says that, if it was opinion, if it was battle, if it was thought, we agreed on it. And he really reveals that, he felt safe around Sigurd. Even though in this scene right here, he was with an Imperial trader, he was with a trader of the Empire and the Stormcloaks, and that Sigurd's the one that calmed him down, that he felt calm around her. And, the references here that they talked about the war, about their beliefs, which is a common thing people do. But when you start talking about who you are and what you love and where you come from, it's really when you get really personal with somebody. And they were able to do that at this time during the inn. And the ideas of their friendship, was very strong here, very kind of leaning into towards the tilting into the sort of pink. And this is kind of a lot of what goes into that. This one of these moments is very important for them. They'd led them into that path of where they ended up today. They were able to just be themselves around each other. No bullshit, no Imperial, no Stormcloak. It was just them and that inn. Nothing like that. And then I think that really kind of put them on an even level, like an even playing field when it comes to their emotions. And I guess it all really changed the day that Centauros took her into solitude. That he wanted her to come, and made her kind of feel cool. Like, he wants me to follow him into solitude. That's awesome. I've never been before, but he wants me to come. That's really cool. That he wants me to follow him, even though I'm a Stormcloak and he'll be judged for it. He doesn't care, and I really like that. And then showing him inside of his home and introducing him to his daughter, and just revealing who he is to her. That he kept this, that time they had that drink and talked about their things, their lives. That he kept that going even after he was drunk. That he showed his life. He didn't just talk about it, but he showed her that. And that meant a lot for her, especially when he stood in front of Marulia and basically sided with Sigund in front of the very woman that made him a Vanguard, the very woman that started his journey. Marulia was the one that basically started him on his journey. And, to side against her for Sigund, to look after her when she got drunk because she fell prey to her emotions because of what was said about her sister and this and that. And he picks her up, he takes her to bed, he takes her shoes off, he looks after her, and she just fucking snaps her, really gets up, lays a fucking big old kiss on him, and he's like, holy fuck, and this, like, it really blew him away, and he really liked it. He did, but he didn't take advantage of it, and they went back to their ordinary lives. This moment really, like, scares the shit out of Sigurd, that she's falling in love with someone like him, because it's a danger to her and him on their sides. If they people find out, they might have him killed of their sides. And she doesn't want that to happen to Centauros, and she hates the feeling that she's falling in love with somebody that could be her enemy at the end of the day. And she pushes him away, trying to protect him, but also trying to protect herself from her own feelings. And this just puts a wedge between them, where she gets even more scared, because Centauros cracks the shit, because he deeply cares about her. He feels like he's just being wasted, like he's being used. And it hurt him, because he deeply cares about her. There's definitely feelings there at this point. And he almost dies, and and again, this entire scene was not planned. I was the cameraman. I saw Centauros go down. I was like, holy fuck, this could work. And it did. It really drove a massive thing between character development, all these characters of him and his future stories, and him and Sigurd. Like, watching him die. When you grow close to somebody, when they become a part of your everyday life, and you really enjoy being around them, and they almost die, you lose them, it throws everything out of balance. You really are thrown into an emotional well of despair. And Sigurd realised that day that, she really cared him. She really liked him. She might have even loved him. It broke her heart. Imagine that he would die, especially hating that he hated her, and that he could die that way. And, when he woke up and recovered, it was the best day of her life in a way. She came to realise that her world was almost shattered by the loss of Centauros. And like I said, it either takes you losing someone or coming close to losing someone to really realise what they are worth to you. And I really loved that moment of, Centauros and Sigurd really, their story has just felt super organic. And I have not really planned it. I mean, it's just happened. And I love that about Skyrim, its storytelling. It's just fucking happened throughout all these episodes. Maybe even some of the chapters, of course, but these episodes have been absolutely fucking wild for me, man, because I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, the journey of the Dragonborn is completely and utterly up in the fucking wind. And then it just comes down, lands, and just plays chess, and it wins. I mean, I know where I'm going with the chapters. They're pretty easy, from the start to the middle to the end, and what happens in between them. But when you've got the Dragonborn, she has to go find words of power. She has to go kill dragons. She has to go defend places from Draga and dragons and priests and whatever. It's completely random. And I love the fact that she's able to just, make sense of it. I'm able to make sense of it in the story. It was absolutely wild. I mean, it's like at the same time, when I do the story again, I will 100% carbon copy the fuck of what I've done. I don't give a shit. I love this. This story has been perfect for me. It's just worked out so goddamn well, and I love that, man. things will obviously change. People will die during certain times, but like the unsuccessful rate of my storytelling has been. I've been arsing it. Okay, I've not written this down. I'm not a proper storytelling genius. I'm not. I'm probably sound like a fuckwit right now, but it has all just worked itself out, man. It's fuck around and find out, and I haven't been bitten by it, and I like that. I really, really like that. But yeah, this scene was 2 years in the making. It was scary as shit to make, and I really hope I did it right. I really fucking hope I did that right, because this is like this is the scene of the episode. This is the episode. You know, this is the name of the episode. All sort of shit, man. Like, oh man, fucking hell. Like I'm kind of shit scared to find out what people think about this. Really, like, did they like it? Did they not like it? You know, I'm like, you know, like, I'm scared. Like, what are people going to think about this? It's like, you know, oh, dude, I can't even describe it. Of how, like, am I waiting for a tidal wave to wash me out to sea? Am I going to be high enough? Are people going to enjoy it? It's one of those things as a storyteller. It's like, you don't know if people are going to love your story, but you don't know if people are going to hate your story, and things like that. And it's nerve-wracking. We get into the cementing moment of their relationship, and I didn't want to go for more than 15 minutes, so I had to cut some things out that could definitely be chucked in the next part of it, when he kind of reveals what might save his life. It's like real life, eh? You have a really touching moment for 15 minutes, the shirts come off, the titties get felt up, the old knob gets sucked, and then you're there for fucking 30 seconds before it's all done and over and done with. So, yeah. I honestly don't know how to film sex scenes without them being full-on pornographic or boring, but this is probably the best way I could do that, because I don't know if YouTube will chuck the shits at me for this. Probably will. But again, no genitals were shown and anything like that, and yeah, it's the perfect place to do it. Make love is in front of the gods, I guess. I did not want to end it there. I kind of wanted to continue with Cecilia's thought going out on a hunt. And I think she'll be the start of that next episode, because she's got some things. She really has a bonding moment, again, because the reader's kind of the one she talks to. She can understand, like, there's so much about as a reader that she really finds comfort in, because she talks about fire, you know, fireplace, sitting beside him. I mean, sitting beside a fire, imagine, like, you put your hand really close to a fire and it starts to burn before you've even touched the fire. It's like that for vampires. They could be like 3 or 4 feet away from the fire, and they'll still feel it burn their skin. You know, it hurts. It's nowhere near as enjoyable or what it would be for us at a cold winter's night sitting beside a fire. And Cecilia's old. She's lived for 200 years. She's forgotten a lot of things. Faces, people's names, events, and of course the feelings of the past. She's been a vampire for so goddamn long that she doesn't remember what mortality feels like, what the sun looks like, what the colour of the sky looks like. And what those certain feelings felt like. But she doesn't know what it felt like, but she remembers how it made her feel, if that makes any sense. It's kind of a confusing thing to talk about, because when she's sitting there, she kind of talks about it. She talks about it in like a sort of weird way where she like remembers it made her feel safe. It's not really a comforting feeling, but more of an emotional feeling. Of remembering herself, because she, like I said, she's forgotten a lot of things, but holding a memory from that far back is very important to her, because, like I said, she's forgotten a lot of things, faces, names, places, and stuff like that, because she's not meant to be alive for this long. She's a human. She's not an elf. And, you know, she can just remember being a little girl. It could even be an imaginary memory, but it's just something that she thought was real. Or she's just lying there as a girl beside the fire and remembering how the fire brought her. It made her feel safe, especially with her parents behind her. And that could be made up too. How it used to make, the fire used to bring her comfort as a child. Now it brings her pain, but she sits beside it anyway because it reminds her of that feeling of feeling alive, feeling mortal, and feeling safe. And again, having that memory for 200 years is nuts. And it also reflects the woman sitting beside her, because the reader is a vampire, yes, but she's still very much a mortal vampire. She's only been a vampire for a year. This is still her world. Cecilia is well and truly out of her world. Everyone in it is gone and dead. Everyone that she's met in between is gone and dead. And the only person she's got left is now Freya. That's the scary concept, that she's going to grow old and die, but Cecilia's not. But the reader is kind of, you know, she's the doorway to the modern world, but also a path to her world being a vampire. And the reader is very much like that fire. As Zarita's story was going on, she mentioned that she loved the sun touching her skin, the colour in the sky, and everything like that. It's kind of the way Cecilia feels. It's not just that, but it's also Cecilia loves that, you know, Zarita can still feel, still remember all those things of the sun, its warmth, its colouring. She can remember those feelings where Cecilia can't, and I guess that brings her comfort knowing that someone's still around her that's still kind-hearted, still hasn't been stolen away from years upon years of being a vampire. You know, being this creature for 200 years and no doubt killing people over and over, being evil and bad, just constantly seeing it, think there's going to be no end to it. You know, the immortality, the people are just bad, and living in this world where you've become sort of self-destructive to your own thoughts. And Zarita is that fire that kind of warms her to, you know, to everyone else. Because like I said, she is still alive in her current day and age. She's only been a vampire for a very short time. So this is her world, and she kind of brings Cecilia into her world, into the world she's living in around us, and she's able to talk to her because she feels comfortable, because like I said, Zarita is also a vampire. You know, she can relate to her in certain things, and the pain, the bloodlust, the sun, all that sort of stuff, and there's just so much dynamic between them. Now, I go into this, and I don't understand it because I'm not part of that community, but I like to add some sort of details into things that kind of can't be described but kind of be felt. And I don't know if anyone's ever had this before. Let me know if you have in the comments, in the original video or this video. It doesn't really matter. But Cecilia doesn't generally like women in that sort of attractive way where she likes to have sex with them. But after 200 years of feeling like a monster and, you know, no doubt revealing herself to people in the past and having them try to kill her or think she's a monster, an ugly thing, it's kind of warped into her head over time that she's just this ugly creature. You know, because her face has morphed into a bat-like thing for her age of being a vampire. That one day happened to Zarita. She stays that long. And, you know, she's sort of herself as an ugly, evil creature that kills. Like, she's just a killing machine. And having someone actually physically want her, calling her beautiful, that, you know, it kind of made her feel like butterflies in her stomach, you know, like, it made her feel special. And it makes her feel special. And Zarita makes her feel alive. It makes her feel wanted. And, you know, she doesn't generally like women or men like that anymore. I think she's been alive for too long to really give a shit. Where it's just, she's, after 200 years, someone physically wanting her just excites her and just makes her feel wanted. And she likes that. And I like that idea that, you know, she is somewhat straight, but it's not about what's between your legs or what's on your chest. It's who they are to her. Now, there's like fucking shit tons of words for this, like pansexual or asexual or some bullshit like that. I don't go with those stupid words. I mean, I don't even like the word lesbian or gay or bisexual. I'm just like the dude that likes the same people, the chick that likes the same people. I like to keep basic and not add name tags to it. Fucking retarded. But I'll probably get fucking lit on fire for saying that, or not being part of that community. But yeah, it's more the fact that Zarita makes her feel wanted. Zarita makes her feel alive. And it's not what Zarita's got tits or a vagina. It's that Zarita makes her feel whole, you know, during times. And she likes that. And it makes her feel confident. She can enjoy herself with her in bed, even though she's not physically attracted to women, which is weird, but she's having sex with one, so it's sort of like a straight porn star doing gay porn. Like, are you straight anymore? Does that even work? Like, I don't know, you fuck dudes for money, but you have a wife at home, and you don't like whacking them. I don't get it. I'll never understand it, but it's kind of the thought in my head with Cecilia. It's like, she doesn't like that, but she's with Zarita from time to time. It is confusing, but I kind of like it that way. It kind of adds a bit more mystery and nuance to the story and the character. That sort of thing. Now, she confesses to Zarita on Ragnar's plans of Centaurus turning. And, well, Zarita talks about it, and she references that Cecilia is the best person in Tamriel to train someone how to be a vampire. How to not lose themselves to it for 200 years on her own, basically. And then, you know, she's just kissing ass pretty much, but a lot of it's truth. And Cecilia is still worried about it because Zarita's the only one she's ever trained, and Centaurus is a different breed. You know, he's a disciplined, trained soldier. and he can be very dangerous, especially with Serana's powers. And having Zarita say that she'll help him is the best thing to her lips, because at the end of the day, Zarita is also going to understand what Serentoris is going through when it comes to being a newly fledged vampire. But they're both going to need the training, because he's going to be thrown into the deep end straight away. I mean, out in the daylight, day one, people dying and bleeding around him. He's going to be going through the worst training. Like I said about the Asian kid in the Bondi Beach being swept out by a rift. It's going to be like that for him. He's going to have no training whatsoever. He's just going to be thrown into the middle of it. And we end it here. I hope you guys have enjoyed the story. Let me know in the comments. Hopefully the other page, because it'll help that get out to more people. And I did say this in the outro, but if you could, like it, share it, do whatever, because I'd love to grow the community with people that really enjoy stories. And it's not just people that enjoy stories, but people that want the inspiration to play Skyrim again, or make the Skyrim better and things like that. I don't know. But I do this to share to people, to hopefully that they get a lot out of it instead of just a story to watch. Other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in another episode. And look after yourselves. Peace out.